viewers, welcome to my channel once again. In our tutorial today, I shall continue with the discussion on introduction to physics. In my last video, I have talked on the examples of fundamental quantities where I made mention of 7 basic fundamental quantities. Now we are like saying, if you combine 2 or more of these fundamental quantities, of course, it's expected we should have another new quantity. What then will going to be the name of the new quantity? And that will going to take us to the present topic today, drive quantities and their unit. Now, as if somebody is asking us what is drive quantities and their unit, we can define drive quantities and their unit are those quantities which are obtained by simple combination of the fundamental quantities and unit. Let's take it down. Yes, this is the definition of drive quantities and the unit. We are saying that if you combine the fundamental quantities, 2 or more fundamental quantities, we are to obtain the drive quantities. What if you combine the 2 or more fundamental unit, you are also expected to obtain the drive unit. So let's take these examples. This is quantity. Then we have derivation. Then we have unit. So let's start with the unit. Now, assuming if I have m square is obtained from the unit meter. Meter times meter, you obtained m square. And this m square is not longer the fundamental unit. It has become a drive unit because the m is carrying 2 now. Okay? So the derivation, it simply means that they have actually multiplied this length twice. Okay? So under the derivation, we can set length multiplied by breadth. Then immediately a question will come up. Length, we are aware of length. Breadth, we are not aware of it in our fundamental when we are talking on the examples of fundamental quantities. Breadth, we don't know this. But it's very simple. Length, let's take this whiteboard for example. If this is considered as the length, then this should be the breadth. Okay, now I will use a meter rule to measure the length, and of course I was still going to use a meter rule to measure the breadth. So what am I like saying? I'm saying that I have not changed an instrument in measuring this length. I have not changed. For example, if I use meter rule to measure the length, that is meter. Now I used let's set a thermometer to measure the height, of which is impossible. Then we can set the unit will not be m square. We'll rather have m times k, which is Kelvin. Okay, so length and breadth will use the same instrument in measuring it. That is the reason why we have mm. The length is meter, the breadth is also meter. So displacement. Okay, so now length times breadth, mathematicians have told us that length multiplied by the breadth is area. This, the quantity will now be what? Area. The quantity is area, the derivation is length times breadth, and the unit is meter square. Let's consider volume for example. Volume, as second example, volume. Volume is length length multiplied by the breadth multiplied by the height. Multiplied by the height. Now, length, we use meter rule. Breadth, we can use meter rule. And height, we can still use meter rule. So it means that we'll be having m times m times m. And from law of indices, when you are multiplying, you should add the power. You take only one of the base and you add up the power. So one of the base is what? M. So we're having 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 of the power. So it will be what? Meter cube. So I'm like saying the quantity is now volume. Volume is not the fundamental quantity, but it is a derived quantity. And the derivation is length times breadth times height. And the unit is meter cube. So let's take the third example. Speed. Speed is distance over time. Distance over time. Now, when you cover a space or a gap, we say distance has been covered. Now, no matter how negligible the time may be, little second may have passed by. So we can now say that you are using meter rule to measure the distance. You are using meter rule to measure the distance, so it should be, the unit should be m, because we are using meter rule, or it can also be tape, all right? So we can say it should be m. Now, time. You can't use meter rule to take time. Rather, we use clock. So the unit of what? Time is what? Is now second. So we said all over second. So as if somebody is asking us, what is the unit of speed? We can answer meter per second, or also written like this, meter per second. So these are drive quantities and their unit. So in our class today, we're going to stop here. In the next class, we'll be looking at dimension.